Good morning. Day 154, rising and shining together. Boy, we've got a bright, clear sun rise. And we have, I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll have to see if I can zoom in. It's not letting me right now. It's not cooperating. But we've got enough chill in the air that there's this really cool mist coming off of the water. It's very cool. So I just feel bright and shiny this morning. And I was reading chapter 40 in Isaiah. And, oh man, this is a good one. There's just, Isaiah's going back to God in this one. It's all about God and his greatness, and he holds the whole world in the palm of his hand, and just the glory of, like, who can measure. You know, we get so caught up in our lives, and we need to just stop and look around and realize that we are just dust in the wind. We're compared to like blades of grass here today, and beautiful, and the flowers. But, you know, in the big scheme of things, we're just here for a blip. And we can get so caught up in our lives. And it is important. Like, he's not saying that it's not, and what we do isn't important. That was the whole, you know, we've been through Proverbs and Psalms and, you know, are striving to be godly. But sometimes we need to be brought back to the basics. And when we do, rather than feeling overwhelmed by it all, we can fall in love with it. And love brings you energy. Have you ever noticed that? Positive emotions, like it creates all the good chemicals in our brain. They've been able to prove this scientifically, but these kind of positive emotions create the right mixture of chemicals that make us feel good. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. I call it the daily dose. D-O, did you get it? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. So how are you getting your daily dose? And sometimes it, you know, we look around in the world and it's just not, it seems like the glass is half empty, depending on what we focus on, what glass you're looking at, what it's filled with. That's why we've got to be very intentional. And there are sources of love, hope, optimism, goodness, if you look for them. And it's all about what you focus on. And if you're not feeling energized, you might have some things that are keeping you from seeing these things. It's not that they're not there. They're always there. You can choose love no matter what. And even on the heels of all the tragedy recently in the world, and I even went back to somebody I had learned about years ago, who was the mother of a child that died in a similar tragedy, and chose love. Like, it energized her so much that she started a movement, an organization, and a lot of other parents did as well. We can choose and get energy even in the face of seemingly awful things. You know, there's always, you know, the proverbial silver lining, and God's promises to bring beauty from ashes. Like, it is there, and working all things together for the good. There's always something there. Viktor Frankl talks about it in his Man's Search for Meaning. Other similar books out there, Solzhenitsyn, and so many that have been able to tap into this. Paul in the Bible, Gandhi, you name it. We have all these examples, and we kind of think that there's something special about them. And my husband and I were even talking about this the other day. I'm like, you know what I've realized? There's nothing special about any of us. And he was like, well, maybe that's actually what makes you special, is that you've been able to tap into and learn something. I was like, oh, maybe. I don't think so. But I've had a willingness to see that there's nothing special about me, and I have access to all of this if I will just do it. Not just willingness, but then follow through and do it, and do some of these practices, and then have evidence for myself that it works. I've not always been this way. I've not always, but I've had glimpses of it, and I've been trying, but I was also not willing to give some other things that were blocking me. And, that even though the glass was half full, it wasn't half full of clear water. It was full of some mud. And, trying to choke that all down at the same time. I don't know if that's a good analogy. That just flew out of my mouth and out of my brain. I have no idea where that came from. But, if you've ever felt down, I would love for people to test me on this. And Michael Singer talks about this too in his books and works. And a lot of people do. There's no new concepts under the sun. We all just put our own spin and our own twist on them. But love energizes. When maybe you're feeling down and you've had a bad day at work, and you come home and your family's made a great dinner and they greet you with, a smile. Don't you feel a little pep in your step? You get some energy. Love energizes. And God is often referred to as love itself, like God is love. And it makes sense. In chapter 40, part of what made me even think about all of this, or bring it back to mind, is, it's the famous verse that I think we've all heard, whether you're familiar with the Bible or not. He gives us strength like young men. We can soar like eagles. And we won't grow weary. He's talking about energy. Like when you're plugged into God and God's greatness, and you allow yourself to just forget about all of what seems like overwhelming responsibilities. And if I don't get this done, and the world and the sky is falling. If you allow yourself to step out of that for a minute and step into love and look up and look around, look at that. And bring yourself back to reality. People will say that's checking out of reality. I'm going to say it's checking into reality. And the truth, the bigger truth, hey, it's not all up to you. You're not Atlas. The world is not going to fall apart if you die tomorrow. Interestingly enough, and people may not agree with me, but this has actually been one of my parenting tricks that I think I've gotten actually kind of right. It's like, you're special to me, but you're not special to the world out there. And I'm not even that special. If I died tomorrow, yes, you'd be sad. And yes, there would be some things at work that might not get done. But guess what? People would figure it out. The world would keep spinning. And some of us think that the world spinning and the sun rising hinges on them getting some stuff done. And this is not to trivialize, or to say that there aren't big things that are going on in your life. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, burdened, weighed down by all of it, and you just can't see hope, take a breath. Look up, look around, and realize, and plug back into the source of love to get some energy. And you've got examples in your life of where you have been feeling low energy or down, sad, all of that. And the right phone call, the right, little hug around the shoulders, your child coming up to you, your dog, where all of that can lift your spirits. And all of a sudden you have a shift in your energy. Nothing happened. You didn't go and get more sleep all of a sudden, or, eat something. We do have real physical sources of energy, but we have access to everlasting, an endless, boundless source of energy. And that's what those, and when we feel those emotions of love, hope, gratitude, friendship, connection. It energizes us. Even if you're only running on a few hours of sleep and you're hungry, people can tap into this and be refreshed. And their spirits, they talk about the spirit being renewed, a spirit of energy. You know, it's a different type. And even when I was sick the last couple of weeks, I still found the energy to do this because I'm tapped in every day. I plug in to this source of everlasting energy, the unfailing energy. And it's my why. I love life now. I love life. God is life. God is love. And nobody can take that away from me because I choose it. I choose it. Now, the world may try, and there are plenty of times, you know, doesn't mean I'm like a rainbow walking around all the time. And I definitely am human, but I know how to pull myself out of it now. I'm not isolating where I used to when things like that would happen. I'm a natural type that likes to withdraw as my like default setting in reaction to something. And that's what I had done in my life. I had kind of like retreated into a little hole. And even though I was having lunches with girlfriends and participating in Bible studies, and even as a mom and a wife, I had kind of retreated and isolated the inner parts of me. And it takes courage to be vulnerable and to let yourself be fully seen and known, even by ourselves. So there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot, if you're having consistent low energy, sad, depression, those are actually signals to you. Now, there may be really something chemically going on that you really need to address and need medical attention, but there's also a lot of things that we can do on our own. And these types of feelings are signals and wisdom to us saying, hey, something's going on here. You're disconnected. We don't always hear it as that. We just know that we feel bad. We feel this, like things aren't going right. And we feel this overall sense of depression. But with help and with even doing the right activities on your own, maybe, I don't like using words like right and wrong, but doing things maybe differently and exercise, all of these things, they've proven that when you can start doing things that create these chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins for yourself, and the body creates them. And there are ways that you can create them on your own. Oxytocin is one of those. They call it the love chemical. When you get a hug, from your spouse or your children or a friend or your dog, you're getting that, you feel good. So anyway, love, but the ultimate source of all of it, because we are a created thing by a creator. So we have to follow his formula. And he says, plug into the source of energy, which is love. And these things will happen because I've created you that way for this all to happen. And this chemical cocktail will start to happen in you. But you've got to practice it. You hear all the time about a gratitude practice. You've got to be intentional about it. You've got to choose it. And eventually, because this is also the way humans work, that becomes habitual. And then you don't have to think about it anymore. And yes, some people come into the world wired this way a little more naturally than some others. We're all created differently. But at the end of the day, there's nothing special about any of us. We all like the same laws and rules, and all of it governs all of us, and we all have access to it. But God gave us this thing called free will. We talk about a lot. And so we've got to choose it, and we've got to then do it. willingness, and then doingness. And then it becomes beingness. Willing, doing, being. And we want to skip all that part. We just want to be that. We don't want to work at it. We don't want to be intentional. Like, it takes too much work. Well, when you feel this way, all of that work gets easier. And it doesn't feel as burdensome and as heavy. It feels joyful. It feels energizing. And you know you've always got more time. You don't let it get to the point of overwhelm anymore, because you're always going back to the truth of, oh yeah, this seems really important and world ending to me. And yet it's not. It's not. Calm down. Calm your nervous system down. So there's a lot that's going on here, scientifically, spiritually, relationally, physically. It all works together. We are holistic beings that have to live in all of these dimensions. And we can do it because we have the power. We have the power of love giving us everlasting energy. If we just plug in and choose it. All right, rise and shine together. What am I going to do with all this energy today? I feel like I'm overflowing with energy. I got to go bless somebody with that today. All right, rise and shine. If you're going to rise, you might as well shine. Bye.